In the arrangement as it is, when the Council of 12 makes a decision, Ra and Rana Mu can back it up, or they can ask for a change. And one more voice comes into this government process, and that's the temple. The temple is recognized as the final word on any decision, because in many ways this is, as are the other subterranean cities, a temple society. The temple, even though most of the time will not interfere with civic government, as I said, they can make final decisions through the high priest and high priestess. The temple is run by the Melchizedek. The Melchizedek is a cosmic priesthood. Everywhere in the universe, the Melchizedek exists. It is all those whom are bringing the light plans from the highest realms down to the other realms. A Melchizedek priest or priestess, by their very prove that they will always set light, or they will always set the good of the many among their above their personal good, which has also been proving time and time again as to why the temple can make the last decision, because they will always place what the light prefers, in essence what God wishes, way over what they desire, what they would choose to achieve. Thus the temple also becomes a very good sounding board to what we're doing at the time. Being a temple society, many people take their training at the temple. And many people spend time at the temple. Not just those who end up becoming priests and priestesses, but those who are going into other walks of life, that they need a greater understanding of the human psychic, greater understanding of spirit to achieve their job as it should be done. Which brings us to, let's go through, for instance, a life of what it would be like for someone living in Telos, starting with their conception or childbirth. In Telos, as soon as a woman realizes that she is pregnant, she immediately goes to the temple, and she's put in a room that gives nothing but beautiful pictures, music. She is constantly informed that she's beautiful, she's perfect, her child's beautiful, her child's perfect. So you might say the very first cells of this child's conception is filled with beauty, with light, with perfection. And that is their building blocks. There's where they start. Just as they are starting to understand that emotions and such go right into a child's cells. For instance, they're starting to understand that a child whom had parents that were constantly arguing during their conception and ingestion period, the child grows up insecure, quite often argumentative, or they will grow up totally feeling not good enough, totally feeling that they're not wanted. It's been proven that children that have constantly heard from their parents before they were even born, that I didn't want this child, whatever, that child will constantly grow into, I'm not good enough. So we start children off on the right foot immediately by continually enforcing that they are good enough. They're beautiful. A mother and a father, because a child has a psychic bond to both. Immediately start talking to the child. Start telling it how perfect it is. They spend lots of time viewing things that are beautiful. They spend lots of time singing to each other, playing little funny games, in essence going through a honeymoon again. So the child is all part of that joy. Another thing that makes the childbirthing process very different is we have a process that speeds it up. Therefore, a woman only carries a child for 3 months. In many ways, this is what the human condition was meant to be. Most human females on other planets do only carry a child for 3 months. That is why that a 3-month fetus is basically formed. All it does from then is grow. In the speeded up process, it is actually completed even sooner and just grows. So a 3-month baby, of course, will not be as large as a 9-month baby, but it will be, in the speeded up process, more than large enough to support itself on its own. But we are trying to return back to the time that we don't even need the speeded up process, and the whole pregnancy process returns to only being a 3-month process. Also returning to that place, women have much, much easier childbirth, as you can, I'm sure, understand. Another thing that we do constantly in childbirth is that all our births are underwater. We have found that underwater births bring the greatest ease to both the parent and the child. When a woman goes into labor, she immediately gets a birthing priestess, and then they go to a tub in one of the birthing sections of the temple. And the tub is filled with body temperature water. And the birthing priestess puts the mother in a slight hypnotic state. In this hypnotic state, she is in nowhere even resembling a trance, but she is simply told that there will be no pain. This suggestion, as well as the underwater births, creates a comfortable environment, and most women never have any pain whatsoever. They simply feel the pressure. In an underwater birth, as many women are starting to discover now, that when they are in water during labor, that would be labor pains simply feels like pressure. It's more and more we are trying to alert women to this phenomenon. That is pain on dry land is simply pressure underwater. This serves a second purpose. The child, when then born, is not brought from one environment into shock tactics, as it is much on the surface now. When a child is born, they are immediately pulled from a warm, comfortable, wet environment into a cold, dry one with bright lights. And in the old days, they even used to slap them, which immediately brought a human being, for those of you who now have dealt with rebirthing, into the idea that life is hard, life hurts, life is painful. Thus, infants start shutting down from the time of their birth.